Okay, hello. We're started about a minute early. Checking to see if these kind of technical difficulties we might have. Hey, look at that. Okay, hello. So I know my audio is a little hissy. It's because I have a limiter on there. It's picking up all the room background noise and boosting it up. It's not very adjustable. Let me know if it's annoying, bothersome. So today we are looking at Arturia's Pigments. I know you're looking at live right now. There's Pigments. I'm going to wait a couple minutes here. Let people start to show up, and we'll get started for real. Hey, Rabite. Friend. You can let me know if I'm pronouncing that. Is it Rabite or Rabite? Rabite? I don't know. Could be any of those, right? You'll have to tell me. But welcome, in any case. I'm so glad you made it. I'm glad you are now a regular. Can I call you a regular? I think I can call you a regular at this point. You made it to like 3 or 4 of these. It's nice to have regulars. Pick up conversations with people where we left them off, things like that. As you might be able to tell by looking behind the thing that is not my face, anyway, I'm in a new space. I have moved since the last stream. That's kind of why I haven't been online for the last 4 or 5 days comparatively to how much I'm usually online. One, I've been super duper busy actually in the physical process of moving and unpacking, and 2, I didn't have internet until yesterday afternoon at about 3 o'clock. So, yeah. I mean, I had my phone, but no internet on my computer or house, whatever. So yeah. Good. Oh, evening list. Yeah, entering. So you must be... Are you on the... No. 1:32, 33:30. So you must be like in the UK or something, yeah? Somewhere in Europe for evening listening. But either way, I'm glad. I know this is 12:30 in the middle of the day, or even like 3:30 on the East Coast or whatever, is probably not all that convenient for most people, but it's the time that I have. I'm actually maybe going to start streaming on weekends. I've talked about doing evenings, but I'm usually too stoned in the evenings to want to stream. But maybe on the weekends, especially once football season ends, so New Year, all my Sundays will be free, and I can maybe do a stream on that as well. That's what I did last year too. It seemed to work pretty well. Okay, so today, might as well get started here. I see there's at least 2 folks in the chat, or in the room here, so that's enough for me. I don't need a big audience, as long as I'm not talking to myself. So this is Arturia's Pigments. This is arguably their flagship synth, as to the degree that means anything. I mean, maybe Analog Lab is, you could argue, is their flagship product. That's certainly, I think most people know them for the V collection. But this is like their original synth that's all their design and their ideas and whatnot, and really encompasses a lot of what they do. And it's just a really powerful synthesizer. It is my favorite soft synthesizer. When it comes to software, there's nothing I'd rather be screwing with, especially when you're just talking about like general synthesis stuff. Like obviously if I want to get into hardcore FM, then I would probably use the Op6, which is also an excellent plugin. If I want to do something weird like Wavestation or something vintage, I'm going to use an emulated synth. But yeah, for just general, I'm going to make some synth sounds. This is my go-to device. Okay, so this has this sort of interesting rule of 3s that gets broken in a few places, but there is sort of a rule of 3 thing going on here. Let's look at the 3. Well, there's actually, see, I say that, and then, yeah, there are 4. But really it's synth, FX, and sequence with the play as sort of a bonus screen, but we'll start on the play screen. This is just sort of a... Oh, I'm going to put on my headphones so I can actually hear. hear what's, there we go. So this is just the default sound, so obviously this isn't going to be very exciting. But this is the play screen where you can sort of, all right, so there's an actual sound on it. And so you can see you've got on the left hand over here, you can actually see like the wavetable position moving. You can watch the filter move here. If I had this filter on, you could do that. You can see that it's got a sub-oscillator. You can see that it's not tuned up or down, or if you could tune it up and down if you wanted to. You can tweak the envelope on the amp from here, and then it's got these are assignable through the mod matrix. We'll get into that in a minute, but you can also access those. So this is a place, and you can also access the effects if there were any, but there's no effects on this, which is why this is grayed out, right? You can put the send is set up with a delay and reverb, so if you wanted to send a bass through delay and reverb, you could do that here. So this is sort of a high-level pilot screen, right? This is where you, excuse me, you can just kind of pilot the synthesizer, but you can't really do much here. You can only make very minor adjustments. Like obviously you could do the tuning, you could move the wavetable position in the wavetable, or you could pump the volume up a little bit. You could turn on the second engine, yada yada, but turn off the sub oscillator, or turn it down. But you can't really make deep edits to the synth. Okay, so we're going to call this the bonus screen, and then we'll look at this rule of 3 here thing. We'll start with the synth screen, and let me show you what I mean by rule of 3. Like you have 2 main engines and then a third. You have 3 envelopes, 3 LFOs, 3 function generators, 3 random, 3 combiners. And you have, again, they break it. You have 4 macros, 2 filters. Why can't we just give me a third filter? Come on, man, just keep the thing. But yeah, so 3 engines, 3 of each modulator. You see what I mean by rule of 3s? It's just sort of it's an interesting design thing that goes through it. On the effects page, 3 effects per bank. Just interesting. But okay, so let's get into the actual parts here. I need to buy optics, and you're probably going to sell me the pigments as well. Yeah, I'll tell you. Hey, Zeta. It is welcome from Mastodon. Mastodon's one of my favorite places to hang out. So I'm glad to see some Mastodon folks here. Yeah, honestly, if you love synthesizers, once someone shows you Pigments, I think that I don't care who you are, you're going to want to own it. The one exception I've heard is, and I don't think this is not something that would ever stop me, but I understand aesthetics are important to people. Some people find it garish and unpleasant to look at. I personally love the colors. I'm a color, so I'm a recovered goth. I mean, I'm still a goth, born a goth, I'll die a goth. And it's going to be so sweet because nothing goths love more than dying. But at the same time, I like colors now. I still wear mostly black, although when I do wear colors, I tend to wear bright colors. And so I like a little bit of color. I like the pink and the orange and the yellow and the gray and the purple. And I think that this is a brilliant color scheme. I think that it's a brilliant design overall. I think that it makes everything so obvious and wonderful. But some people do find it garish, loud, busy, and distracting. So if you're one of those people, totally get it, totally understand. Maybe this isn't for you. Everyone else, word of warning, you're probably going to want to buy this synth if I do even a remotely good job showing it off. Okay, let's get into the guts of this. Yeah, hey, Baymud. Cool, man. I'm so glad to see you. Baymud is someone I've been friends with him for. I feel like we knew each other on Twitter. If not, it was right when I got on Mastodon. But I feel like we knew each other on Twitter as well back in the day, Bay. You have to correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, and so I haven't been on Twitter for years. I got on Mastodon in, I think it was 2023. So anyway, okay, sorry. Focus. So, Pigments. I'm also going to be using... showing off my own sounds. We can look at some presets maybe towards the end or whatever. I don't really use presets, so it's definitely not my area of expertise. I shouldn't say that. I don't use presets very much. I do use presets usually in the arrangement phase when I'm, done sort of writing and recording, occasionally in the writing phase, but usually once I'm done writing and recording, using largely my own sounds or fairly basic stock generic sounds. Then when I go into arrangement and production, sometimes, not always, I will look for a preset to fit the arrangement. And it's usually if I don't have something I created that's good enough or that's appropriate or that's scratching the itch that I have in mind. But okay, let's go ahead and do a start at the navigator. So there's lots of different ways you can navigate. First of all, you can just use these up and down arrows to go through the current bank of sounds. Right? So just up arrow, down arrow. That's kind of the easiest way to do it. But you can also click down there and then you can scroll and see they've got banks over here. You can arrange your stuff into banks. I believe you can even add custom banks in here. Probably you can. I haven't really messed with that too much. Comes with a lot of presets. I know I said I don't really use them, so I'm just going to share sort of the internet's opinion that I have absorbed. The internet's opinion, I think, is that these are a mixed bag. That it is not a preset machine like Atmosphere. They buy it because it's got a bazillion presets that cover everything you could ever want, and you don't ever need to program it if you don't want to. And I think the impression is that this is not that. That said, I have not downloaded many, if any, like expansion packs. I know there's several free ones and a bunch of paid ones available. So if presets are your thing, you should probably be able to find something that you like. And if not, you could always commission me to make some sounds for you. That's the thing I do. You can pay me money and say, hey, I need, I'm making an album. I need someone to sound design it. And this is what I have in mind. And, here's the synths I have. And I'll either buy the synths or whatever. We'll figure out a way for me to get them. And if Pigments is one of them, obviously I already have it. And I just make you a bunch of sounds. Okay, anyway. And then if you click this little, I don't know, like it's a bookshelf. I don't know what you'd call this icon. You get the Explorer. And if you've used Analog Lab or anything like that, you're already familiar with this because this is kind of, this is a common design element throughout Arturia synths. You can favorite a synth here, right? You can ask for the computer's opinion for similar presets. Like if you like what you're hearing, but it's not quite right, I assume it's got some analysis engine that looks at them and says, okay, this uses similar wavetable, similar whatever. Over here, if you've typed info in, so I could type something in here if I wanted to. Kick drums. This is a sound I made, and that's what they are. They're a bunch of kick drums. So you can type that in there, and then I've also categorized this, right? And then it can show the save real quick too. Yeah, and then you can. So this is all in the user bank. If you don't want to just look at the user banks, you can look at this. You can sort it by type, style, bank, etc. So this is what comes with it, the factory bank, and then each expansion has come with another set of presets. Like 1,697 it looks like, and 126 of those are mine. So it comes with about 1,500 presets, which to me seems like a lot. Like one of the reasons I don't use all that many presets is that I get real bored going through presets. I love sound design, but like just going through presets is not very interesting to me. So yeah, that's one of the reasons at least I don't use them. Plus I know how to make my own. I've been making my own sounds since I was like a kid. So okay, so that's how you navigate, right? Lots of different ways to find stuff. Again, we're going to turn on the user bank and just kind of stick with my sounds for the most part. Okay, so let's just stop it up here. So here's your two engines. They're identical. The utility engine is a little simpler. We'll get to that in a second. So each of these is the same. You turn them on or off. Each one you can select between the 5 different synth engines. So it's got analog, which is a very simple virtual analog. It overlaps a lot with the wavetable engine, but there are a couple things you can only do in the analog engine that you can't do in the wavetable engine, or that you have to do in a different way in the wavetable engine at least. Sample engine, that's obviously for playback of samples. There's granular built into that as well. Harmonic engine, that's an additive engine, and modal is a physical modeling, and we'll look at these in depth as well. Now, when this came out, yeah. Right, exactly. I'm with you. 1,000. It's so many. It's just so many, and all of the Arturia synths just come packed with them. I did a little interview with one of their product managers, and they wanted to ask me about the presets, and that was one of the specific things they wanted to ask. Hey, what did you think of the presets? And I was like, I don't know, because I haven't really looked at them. Like, frankly, they're a little overwhelming. That was actually on Microfreak, not on this synth, but still, there's like 350 on that. It's just like, I don't know, man. I go through like 10 of them and I'm done. I can't listen to any more presets. I got to start making some sounds. Okay, so yeah, so you have wavetable. Wavetable's sort of the default engine. It comes with a lot of wavetables. Okay, so these are the wavetables that it comes with. Each one of these has a lot, right? A lot. Dozens of wavetables per category. I don't know what the full number is. It's got to be somewhere in the neighborhood of a couple hundred. And it's also very easy to make your own wavetables, which I have actually experimented with. And that's, if you go to the folders here, I just have one folder. It's called Wavetables. How clever of me. But you can add other folders. I've just been sticking everything in the same. And I have, maybe we'll try and get into this a little more later. I've experimented both with just throwing samples in, which is a thing you can do. Just import any sample and it becomes a wavetable. And also like building wavetables in various ways. Some making specific samples for wavetables, like tuned to the right pitch so that each single cycle of the wavetable or of the sound is a single cycle of the wavetable. I've tried just lots of different things, and basically it all works. It's hard if you throw something too weird in there. It definitely gets a little funky with the pitch and whatnot of the wavetable, but mostly it works without any. You don't have to be super clever with it. You don't necessarily get something out of it that sounds exactly like your sample did, but you do get an interesting wavetable out of it. So, and I'm going to do a dedicated video on the wavetable, so I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Let's go back to we'll just use their wavetables if we start programming some sounds here. Tuning here. You can turn morph on or off. So with morph on, it interpolates between the positions of the wavetable, right? Here, let me show you this. And this is a 3D versus 2D view. So this is the 2D view. You can see it's animated because there's a modulator. I guess there's not a modulator. I don't know why that animation happened. Okay. As I turn through the wavetable, you can see it's modulating between, this one's got a lot of positions, so I'm not sure it's going to be how apparent it'll be. And if you don't have morph on, it just, each time you go to a new wavetable, it just jumps to the new wavetable. Whereas this is like a smooth motion, right? It's more obvious in tables that have, let me find one that's just got like 5 positions in it. Okay, so morph off. Go 1. Oh, this one just has 2 positions, 2. So this is a 2-position one, right? 1 position, 2 position. 1 position, 2 position. The morph is off. Turn the morph on, and you get a smooth interpolation between the two tables. So morph gives you basically infinite wavetables. It also makes it more smoother. With the large wavetable, you don't necessarily even hear it that much, but with the smaller ones, you definitely do. So this is the output for this engine, or the volume of the wavetable. This is the output of the engine. I'm not sure what the output of the first engine, volume of the wavetable oscillator. Okay, so, oh right, because this can vary because these effects down here can change the volume, so that's why. So this is the raw level of the oscillator, and then this is the output, even once it's been modulated and whatever. So you have, over here you have unison, chord, 3 different unison modes, unison, chord, and super. Super is for supersaw sounds, unison is more traditional unison sounds, and chord is a chord engine. So you can turn everything into major chords, minor chords, whatever. This does frequency and ring modulation, linear and exponential FM plus ring mod, all right here. This does phase mod, which is, in other words, DX7 style FM. And does this cool trick here. So sometimes when you're making, especially with the wavetables that they have, I've not found it necessary, but sometimes when you have your own wavetables, you can get some weird artifacts in them, and the phase can help you affect that or tweak that by changing where the wavetable starts and stops. So it can be kind of handy. And then this is phase modulation, basically FM, DX7 style FM. I'll get to what the modulator is in a second. This is a phase transform. So this is actually allows you to do CZ 101 style phase distortion, I think is basically what this is doing. But you can use it to do pulse width modulation. You can like skew waves in weird ways, round them off. Just interesting, like phase-based transforms. And if you use this here, then it does this same modulation under control of the modulator. It's kind of neat. Fractalize is kind of neat. It like makes little copies, turns the wave into little copies of itself and compresses them. Gives lots of interesting high harmonics. And then this is a wave folder. It can either do a sine or triangle style fold or a multi-fold. So I think this is kind of like a fake wave folder. It's not actually doing wave folding. It's doing like a digital simulation of it, where it, if you use the triangle fold, for example, you can see that you get sharper folds. But, whatever, fake, simulated, real, whatever. It does very authentic and very convincing wave folding type sounds. Can make some real skronky sounds. Okay, and then this row here, so, or for these two, it's really, for this one, these, you can alter the phase, and you can, just turn this one only has this, but these you can do a static setting or under control of like an LFO or other modulator, or you can modulate the modulation by an audio speed modulator. And so this is like an FM operator modulator that's just stuck on the back here. You can hear it if you want, which is kind of fun. You can actually oh wait, no, what am I hearing? Oh wait, this is a weird sound. Interesting. Oh right, the utility engine getting a little noise. Sorry, I'm trying to show. I guess you can't hear that. It seems like it. I don't know what this volume is for. Okay, so sometimes I'm an idiot. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing here. I guess I thought you could hear this directly, but you can't. which is fine. You don't ever really need to. But anyway, this is used to do your FM modulation. You can also modulate one engine by the other, which is very cool. So you can do some like wavetform, wavetable on wavetable modulation. Weird stuff. Right, okay, then, yeah, output information here. Yeah, it changes the position of your wavetable, pretty simple. And if it's not obvious, we'll get into that later, but like basically everything in this can be modulated. There's a handful, like this you can't modulate, these little click ends. I guess that's why they're click end boxes and not a knob of some sort. You can't modulate those. But any knob can be modulated by one of the modulators. We'll get to those in a second. Okay. Second engine is identical to the first. And then you have a utility engine, which is it's got a sub oscillator. It's just an analog style, virtual analog style oscillator. You can use it as a sub, obviously. That's what its default is tuned down an octave. But it's an analog style, basic wave shape oscillator. Coarse and fine tuning, pulse width for the triangle and the square, which lets you on the triangle, lets you go to nearly a sawtooth, and then here you get everywhere from 50 to about 99, but not less than that. So, and then yeah, you can which filter it goes to, you can control, and the output of it. Okay. You got two filters. They are again identical. You can select between large number of filter types. So under the classic option alone, you have low pass, band pass, high pass, notch, and all pass in various strengths, various number of poles. You have a cluster filter, which is multiple filters stuck together with controllable like spread. So they share controls. But they are, configurable, like the spread on them, stuff like that. Band pass and a high pass. Do some pretty interesting stuff with these. Get some really wild effects too. You got a phaser style filter, a formant filter, a surgeon filter, which is just a very, very sharp cutoff, of whatever style. Like probably close to like just a straight brick wall, it hits the frequency and you just can't hear anything above that frequency. A lo-fi filter, which is basically like a built-in, bit crusher on this level. You can add filters before, after the cutoff. You can add jitter to it. It does some very nice, crunchy lo-fi sounds. And then you have some band pass filters, low pass, band pass. Comb filters. God damn, speaking faster than I can think. Here are a selection of comb filters, including low pass, band pass, high pass, and feed forward, which is like a traditional kind of what you think of when you think of a comb filter, I think, and that and the low pass one. All very interesting. And then you have, this is of course Arturia, so you do have some modeled filters. A mini Moog filter, MS-20 filter in high or low, Matrix 12 filter with a bunch of different modes, including its own phaser style filter, Jupiter 8 filter, two different strengths, SEM style filter, and a low pass gate, which you can either set to act as a VCA, a low pass, or as both. And again, you got two of those. If you want them both, you can either run them in series or in series or in parallel. You can split them out so that they go to different places. Very flexible, very flexible. Amp mod is here, so this is where you put velocity modulation onto your amplifier. Pan the voice here and there. Here's just axis is the send, which we'll get into later. And then the modulation. And so that's it for the engine, right? That's it. We'll go into the different engines in a second, but let's look at the modulation. Here's your kind of control center, right? What's the keyboard going to do? Tune it up or down. You can, so for programming, if you would rather like have that going and then you can do that. Portamento or glide is here. Voicing is where you decide if it's going to be mono legato, polyphonic, and then how it steals voices, if it's going to steal voices. You can also set it up to 32 voice polyphonic. I think it defaults to 8. And set your velocity and aftertouch and keyboard response curves here. Pretty fancy stuff, right? And then you have an on-screen mod wheel and pitch bend for controlling stuff live. And you can also change settings to the pitch bend and whatnot. Okay, so here's aftertouch. I'll get into how these all work here, but this is your mod matrix, this tray right here. Okay, so click here. This is what aftertouch is doing, and then if you can actually watch the aftertouch, if you like, just look at this box, and I'm gonna. See me applying aftertouch. Okay, here's mod wheel. Now the mod wheel is not doing anything. That's why it's blanked out. But this is where you would add your mod wheel. So if you wanted to use your mod wheel to, for example, affect the fine mod wheel. The fine, what is going on? Oh, is that not one I can affect? I guess it's not. That's weird. Okay, well, we can affect, no, yeah, we can definitely affect this. Yeah, there we go. I don't know, I was failing to grab it. I don't know what I was doing. So now we can use the mod wheel to add up to almost half a cent to, half a step to the sub oscillator. I don't know why I would want to do that, but you could do that if you wanted to. Or you could use it to turn the filter down. Okay, so go. Neat. And yeah, key stuff. It's keyboard. This is like keyboard tracking, and this is for an expression pedal. If you have an expression pedal plugged into your thing somehow, this is, you can assign that. I don't actually have an expression pedal plugged into my computer, so I've never used that. But you can also assign various CC controls and stuff. If that's what you want to do, you could put a control on every one of these knobs if that's what you wanted to do, and if you had a big enough MIDI assignable controller. Okay, so then the filters. We already went to the filters. Oh yeah, right. Sorry. So here's the amp envelope. The amp has a dedicated envelope. You can assign it to other things as well, but it's always assigned to the amp. All the envelopes are the same. They are ADSRs. You can link the decay and release if that's how you prefer. Change how they re-trigger. They have an ADR, ADSR mode, so if you don't need them to sustain, that's fine. You can change the curves, decay curve, and attack curve, various different angles. Again, you have 3 of those. The first one is always goes onto the amp. It can go anywhere else as well. It's not just the amp, but it always controls the amp. The other 2 are fully assignable, no default assignments whatsoever. You have 3 LFOs, all identical. They are syncable, so they can run in hertz, sync, straight, triplets only, dotted only, whatever, various different sync modes. You can modulate, the speed or the sync rate or whatever, do some fun things with those. You have their selectable wave shapes with all your basic wave shapes, but if you notice, there's also a knob down here that you can kind of build your own, roll your own, you can tweak the knob to get various different wave shapes for your LFOs. There's a smoothing, so you can smooth it to almost nothing. You can shift the phase. Change it so it's positive and negative, or just positive. So in other words, up and down, or just up or just down. It's just up, but then you assign it as a just down. And then the re-trigger source, poly keyboard, that means each time you press a key, it gets its own LFO re-trigger. That's standard. You can also have a mono or legato re-trigger. You can have another LFO trigger it, like when it gets to a certain point in its cycle. You can have the sequencer, you can have random functions, or you can have it free running, of course. Always a popular option, just let your LFOs free run. Functions are programmable LFOs. Hey, Scott, thanks for stopping by. See you on Mastodon. Yeah, and you can always, don't forget, you can always watch the rest as a VOD. The functions are, yeah, like it's like a super envelope / LFO, completely programmable. As many steps as you need. Tweak the curve between the steps. Very powerful. You can also make these go, what do you call it? Positive and negative, or positive only. Yeah. So it's above the center line, below the center line, or it's just above or just, you know, below if you have a negative. You can do smoothing on this. Change how you draw the dang things. It's super duper flexible. And I'll tell you, you rarely even need these because the envelopes and the LFOs give you so much. But when you do need these, whether it's because you just need an extra envelope, and it's very easy to set one of these as an envelope. That's a pretty complex envelope, I know, but here, let's go to function generator 2 and just set it as an envelope. You know, and then it's just like, let's see, I think you can even put a sustain step on the envelope somewhere. Oh yeah, you can double it. You can probably tell I've not played with this a huge amount, but you can definitely, yeah, and you can, same deal as the LFO, you can set whether it's a sync, you know, it's synced to the tempo, or if it's milliseconds to do the whole thing, whatever. Very, very powerful. And you have 3 of those. Then to go to the randoms, you have 3 randoms as well. And each one has 5 different kinds. So there's random. That's kind of what you would think of as like actual random. This is a voice modulator effect where you basically pretend like each voice can have its own. It's not even a random modulation. It's a little weird that it's in random. I think it just got shoved in here because it's its own thing and they didn't know where to put it. But this would let you simulate, for example, having a Juno where one of the voice chips or each of the voice chips does a slightly different thing. Let's say they're all slightly out of tune from each other. You could set each of these to be, you know, a few, just what would essentially be a few cents, you know, out of tune. This one's a little flat, this one's a little sharp, maybe that one's just basically at concert pitch, right? So something like that, assign it to pitch, and then on an 8-note poly, each one of these, there's 8 of these steps, is going to trigger a different one of the modulations. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, see how it changes? Yeah, and you get a different modulation on each step. So that's kind of neat. Sample and hold is like the kind of typical. It's going to sample from any source, white noise, the other noises, UT noise. I don't know what UT noise is, but LFOs, combinatorials, macros, whatever. It can sample anything. And here's, you know, define what you're going to sample, what you're going to trigger, if you're going to slew it. So that it takes, you know, it can either rise instantly or fall instantly to the new value, or it can slew, like slope between them, right? Turing is like a computer generated noise. It's a Turing engine, right? Like a shift register is what this is. It's a simulated shift register. If you don't know what that is, it's way beyond the scope of trying to explain it here, but I'd be happy to try and explain it to you offline. I've already written about it, so I can just link you to what I've written. And this is binary, so it's on or off, right? And you can switch the probability of whether it's going to switch on or off. And you can, of course, trigger each other with these. And so you could trigger your random from your binary and blah, blah, blah. Lots of different stuff you could do. It's pretty wild. Okay, and then finally, combinate. This lets you combine two modulators in various different ways. Crossfade, sum, difference, multiply, and divide. Those should be pretty obvious. Lag is actually, you just put 1 in there, and then define how much it it lags behind what its parent is. So example, you can put an envelope in here and add some lag, and you'd get a second envelope that follows it however far behind, 15 milliseconds behind it. It does the same envelope shape. So kind of interesting, kind of useful. Threshold is like this is like a comparator. When it reaches a threshold that you can set, so you put in one modulator, and when it hits the threshold, then it spits out modulation based on that. So for example, so you just get the shape that goes over the threshold, right? So actually, I think this is not a comparator. What it is it wipes out all the modulations below a certain threshold. So if you wanted to use this LFO to do one thing in one place, but have a similar thing in a different place that wasn't quite the same, that would be a way. This would be a way to do that. Offset should be pretty obvious. It just offsets your modulator by a certain amount. Remap lets you reshape it in a way. This is, yeah. See, this gets into like someone who's smart can probably explain what this is doing, but all I know is it makes one modulator into a different, weirder modulator, and frankly, that's enough for me, right? A lot, like that's one of the beauties of these is if you don't really have to understand exactly what's going on under the hood, as long as you can look at this and know it's coming from here and go, yeah, okay, I get it. That makes sense, more or less. And then an envelope follower, that's pretty obvious. You can put any source into here, audio input, filter, any part of the synth that makes noise, and use it to trigger an envelope follower, which gives you an output, a modulated output that's based on the amplitude of your input. Okay. Yeah. And so between these sets of modulators, you have near infinite modulation. I mean, technically, yeah, you only have, not counting external modulators, you have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 independent modulation sources, 3 of which have to be based on the others. But in effect, you can, you're never, maybe never is a strong word. You're rarely ever going to run out of modulation. I never have. I've never once been like, gee, I just need one more modulator in this. If anything, I'm usually not ever using anything close to the full capacity. Holy crap, this time is flying by. This is a big program. There's a lot to get through. Okay, macros. This is where you can just assign controls here in batches. Right, so say macro 1, and we'll just say it affects the coarse tuning here and the cutoff here. And when I turn that, this gets higher in pitch and that filter goes down, right? Pretty simple stuff. Yeah, and then when you're using this, you can just, if you decide, oh, that was a stupid modulation, you can just click there and get rid of it. And see, now it's gone. It's clean. There's nothing. Same with this, like, okay, I don't want this envelope to, well, you can't take it off the amp, but I don't want it to do whatever else it's doing. Well, you can just click a button and then it's not doing that. All right, so filters. We went through modulators. Oh, okay, that's basically it. Now we can look at the effects. Kind of jam through this again because we're running out of time. 3 effects bays, 6 actually, because there's A and B banks. They run in serial, but you can, of course, you can B into A into B, or run them in parallel. You can do lots of different stuff here. You can also have things directly output from your engine directly into the effects. I don't know if you can route that back into the filters. You can do a lot of stuff. Suffice it to say, I've not done everything that this thing can do, so I'm always like, things occur to me all the time. Oh, could you do that? Oh, I don't know. I haven't gotten around to it yet. That's what I can say for sure. And then it's got, these are insert effects, and then it's also got a send return, which also offers 3. So you could have 9 effects on any given sound if you really wanted to. And sometimes you do use them. It's got a really nice selection of effects. These, if you use Arturia products, you will be familiar with these because I believe that they are the same effects that they offer in all their products. So if you have like the V collection, this flanger, it's the same flanger that you are using. Chorus, unison, reverb, shimmer. They're all very nice effects. I mean, they sell some of these, like this Juno 6 chorus and this flanger and, you know, the vocoder. These are all part of their effects collections too. So they're good effects. Yeah, okay, so and that's the basic guts of it. Oh, and then there's also this pretty intense sequencer / arpeggiator. I've barely played with this, but it is definitely powerful. It's got probability functions. You can, you know, change velocity based on probability, or you can scale it. Use these controls to, you know, change octaves semi-randomly. A lot of this stuff can be modulated too, I think. Yeah, so it's a pretty in-depth thing, but you don't have to use it if you don't want to, and I have not used it much. And then a lot of so the presets have tooltips. You can add tooltips to your own as well. I don't really, because obviously I know what they have, some idea of what they do. I don't really need like, hey, use do a barrel roll or whatever notes, but I do sometimes use the notes on these to I mean, like, let's see here. Did I make notes on this one? Yep. Custom wavetable, phase mod, lots of subtle controls. So just to remind me what I was doing. I don't always do it. I've been trying to get better at it. It's alien bell sound, custom wavetable, comb filter, madness. So that way when I'm looking through things, I hopefully have some sort of, yeah. So you can, some of these older things, I didn't bother to type anything in there. A lot of the ones too that I created on streams, I didn't. It's not fun to watch me think of something clever to say and type it, so I skipped those. But later I got into the habit, and the things I programmed on my own, I frequently put like a little note in there. Yeah, there we go. Starts guitar like for when you need that. My goodness, sorry about that. Stay notes reveal ever shifting custom wavetables mod wheel vibrato, right? Guitar like is a bit of a stretch, but you know. I think that covers this tour part of the synth. So as a review, I love this synth. It is fantastic. Let's play some sounds that I've made. It is super fun to program. There's a little bit of a learning curve, and if you are not someone who likes to use mouse and keyboard, it can be a bit much. But I don't love the mouse and keyboard as an interface, but I've come around on it a little bit, and I've found that if the synth itself is designed well, the mouse and keyboard is not really that much of an impediment. I'd even flirted with the idea of trying to program like some kind of crazy macro on my, I've got a Launch Control XL, and trying to program a macro to that. And I realized that was probably just going to, like, trying to remember what is what, and that's going to be more trouble. So I just bit the bullet, spent some time with it, and overcame my, let's not call it fear, but discomfort. All right, so let's hear some sounds. So this is a custom wavetable I did. It's used a Benjamin sample to make a wavetable. You can get these nice low growls. There's a pad sound. Let's see, it could be a little louder, but yeah. Oh, yeah, I wasn't kidding. That is madness. Well, that's kind of pretty. What is going on? See, now I need to know what's going on here. Aha, yeah, okay. So custom wavetable, this bubble pus is definitely one I made. It uses comb filter. So Some filter sweeps. Yeah, good stuff, right? Okay. Do I map to a MIDI keyboard for Pigments? What do you mean? Do I... so I'm playing this right now off Ableton Push. It plays fine off a keyboard. In terms of mapping, it's really super easy to like open up this little window over here, and you can map everything to a MIDI controller if you want to. So right now I'm assuming these are some kind of default mappings because I definitely didn't map all this stuff. But yeah, I've got the macros mapped to some MIDI controllers, and I'm just using the push to control it, or push to rather to control it. So I've got the macros, but I don't think these macros are doing anything anyway. Macro 1 opens a filter, cuts the resonance, and adds drive, for example. Or you could have a MIDI control. You could have macro 1 just open the filter, or you could have macro 1 doing all that, but another separate MIDI controller that wasn't mapped to the macro that just opened the filter, just opened the resonance, and just affected the drive. So yes, you can map it pretty much completely. I think you can map almost every single control in this to external control. And like you could build a giant 75, 150 knob, whatever it would be, macro controller that controlled almost every single thing in this via MIDI. You could even do it with like an off-the-shelf kind of a MIDI controller if you had one big enough. That's what I was saying. I did consider doing that on with my launch control, but it just seemed chaotic. So I got obsessed is probably the wrong word, but I became enamored, perhaps is a better word, of making respaces. So you'll see a bunch of different respaces on here. Kind of a bell key sound, another respace. Well, maybe that's not even quite enough movement to... Bunch of kick drums that could also be toms. Kind of a dramatic brass pad, right? Yeah. And I know, obviously, you're getting a big dose of my aesthetic. Yeah, I think a lot of those, like I said, if you look at I did not set up these. Oh my God. Did not set up these macros, or these mappings rather. So these are clearly the default mappings here. It's got the 4 macros are already pre-mapped, and then resonance, amp release, and attack, cutoff, amp decay, the other filters, cutoff and resonance, sustain. Yeah, it does have some pretty good effects, wet and dry. Excuse me. These are just built-in controls. Probably set to work. Oh, and you know what the other thing you can do, if you have any of their controllers, Arturia's controllers, they're all mapped. I should have mentioned that. My MIDI controllers I have a bunch of Novation controllers and an Ableton Push 2. I do not have any of the Arturia controllers. If you do, they all offer built-in mappings. So that's something, if you've already got, excuse me, a a key step or whatever sitting around. Key step Pro, beat step. I didn't see the beat step on there actually, but what's their flagship controller called? Anyway, if you have any of that stuff laying around, you have an advantage. You hit the ground running. Yeah, for sure. It's still not out of the question that someday I will, especially because I don't actually use that launch. It might be worthwhile to just spend an afternoon mapping all the controls and using tape to indicate what is on there, like an A-B, depending on which mode it's in, switch between a couple and just use like 75% of it right there. But I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, what I was saying is like the one disadvantage of like showing you all my presets, of course, is everything is my aesthetic. And if you don't like my aesthetic, then you're like, man, this synth sounds like ass. I assure you it can sound like just about anything. I just like making it sound fucked up a lot of the time. This is nice. See? Very nice classic string pad. Might be worth looking at that just to see what we're doing here. Wavetable. So this is a dual engine one. It's using looks like maybe some FM'd. Yep. So it gets FM on the wavetable oscillator, as well as a little fake pulse width modulation, it looks like. Doing a weird jerk thing there. And then some granular, a violin sample. And then obviously I think there's a fair bit of reverb and delay going there, chorus as well. I'm using some reverb on the insert, which you can do. You can do anything you want. I set up my own defaults. That's something you can do as well. Drum percussion. I do enjoy synthesizing percussion, so it's just something I do pretty often. See, it does pretty good. I mean, just a really wide variety of sounds. Obviously, I tend to prefer weird, harsh. But I mean, that's a nice bass. More weird percussion. I should mention that it can be a little hard on your CPU. You definitely need to have a powerful CPU or multi-core CPU. If you do have multi-core CPU, you got to turn it on. That's here. Turn that on there. It is definitely a bit of a CPU hog. You know, how much of a problem that'll be for you is obviously dependent on your computer. But okay, so we've actually reached 30 minutes. I'm going to keep going just a little bit longer, but I did want to do a wrap up for anyone that needs to just keep this to an hour. This is currently on sale for $69 to $99, depending on if you own other Arturia products. If you are in the market, I don't want to make anyone gas. I don't want to tell anyone to spend money. This is not sponsored content, by the way. I paid for this out of my own pocket. I'm doing this because I think it's a cool synth and because I'd like to get the information out of there. But I don't get kickbacks. Arturia doesn't know I'm doing this. I'd be shocked if they ever came across it. I'm just too small of a creator for them to really take notice of. So don't think I'm trying to like put money in my pocket by doing this. But I do think this is an amazing synth. If you are interested in synthesis at all, it is worth checking out. Oh man, I just realized I didn't even check out the other engines. Okay, it is definitely worth the $70 to $100 that it's going to cost you. If you own Arturia hardware or other software, it's probably $69. If you don't, it's currently $99. It's on their Black Friday sale. You'd be hard pressed to find this much synthesis goo in a different product for even twice the price. Like I think Serum 2 is $200, right? And that's an amazing synth for $200. But this probably does essentially everything it does, and it's half as much. So let's look at the other engines real quick. If you have to go, I understand. Maybe you can pop back to this. I'll try and do it quick. There are 5 engine types. The virtual analog gives you 3 virtual analog, simple wavetable synthesizer or oscillators with the same unison chord and super modes. You've got a sync mode here, and you can use the third modulator to FM the other 2. You can also use the second engine. This one does not give you access to the utility engine, or not the utility engine, but the modulator, a specific modulator. It gives you instead mini Moog style noise or oscillator 3 modulation. And you can turn FM off or on for each of the oscillator 1 and 2, which will be again modulated by oscillator 3. It's also got a built-in noise generator. That's the noise source here. And otherwise, sorry about that. Otherwise, it is the same as the wavetable engines. No other changes. You don't have all the cool phase modulation and all that stuff down here. But you can do pulse width modulation on any of these, again, if it's the triangle or the square. Okay. And then we already went over the wavetable engine. The sample engine, you can load, it comes with a buttload of samples, or you can load your own. I have no idea how many samples. A lot. It comes with a lot of samples. They're not, for the most part, multi-samples. I think there might be a couple that are multi-sampled. You do have up to 6 samples, so you could do some multi-sampling and do all that. that's not the strength of this. This is definitely more for like, I'm going to throw a string sample in here and use it as part of a string pad or whatever, rather than like I'm making a string instrument that's going to be realistic or fool a string player that, you know, I'm playing real strings. That's not what this is about. Hey, it's good to see you, Bay. Obviously, if you are interested in the rest of this, it will be on VOD, and I apologize for... I love this synth so much, and once I get started talking about it, I definitely go a little off track. So here, the engines, you have a bit crushing engine. It should be pretty self-explanatory. The unison chord and super engines, but also a resonator engine, which gives you like some low-key physical modeling stuff here, and also frequency and ring mod from the modulator or the other engine here. So built in a simpler, you know, you don't have the phase modulation and all that stuff, but you do have, you can FM a sample if you want to, okay? And then there's a granular engine here. Scan is defines the speed at which the start position moves upon key phrases. Density, how many grains you're going to use. This is the shape of the grain envelope. This is the duration of the grains in milliseconds, and then you can modulate and randomize all those things. So I can show you just the... Kind of sounds like a filter sweep, doesn't it? Okay. And then this again is the same modulator section that you have. You can select all your basic wave shapes or noise, volume, output, the ratio, so you can tune it as a ratio. You can also absolute or relative tuning. So if you want to just every note to be a fifth above, for example, you can tune that to 7. And similar to a ratio, but just different in the way that it works. That's the same on all of them anyway. Okay, so number of partials, phase modification. Here, that's the same. And this is phase modulation from the mod oscillator. Same deal over here. So this is DX7 style FM is what this is, based on this right here. Okay, right? And over here, so this affects how you can do weird stuff like have this movable window that applies boosts the gain of where it's at. This changes the size of the window, this changes where it's at, this boosts the gain in it, and this modulates the frequency of it. So pretty complex stuff. This engine is pretty complex. I've played with it some. So let's just say that it does a lot of weird stuff here. Let's see, periodic imaging mode. Oh, okay, sure. This affects how the partials get expressed. It looks like it's rectifying some of them here. Lots of wild stuff. You can shape and set a morph between 2 points. It's a very powerful, this engine's very powerful, and I've only used it this much. So, but yeah, this is an additive engine that is probably an entire synthesizer's worth. This and the wavetable engine are both like an entire synthesizer's worth of synthesizer, just thrown in as one of the engines that it does. And then here you have a physical modeling where you can change the model, string or beam model. Beam's like a board, a block of wood, whatever. String is a string. It changes how it vibrates, how sound propagates through it. Stereo elements, warp. Right, range, how much of it's going to be affected, shape. Yeah, and I know I'm just kind of skimming over all this stuff. So here you have collision, transient. These are different exciters, and you can also use an audio input. This more exciter stuff. Yeah, this again, very deep. I played with this also some and had some interesting results from it, but I mostly, the wavetable engine is what I use for 75% of the programming I use in this, and I definitely know it the best. That said, now if you wanted a dedicated physical modeling synth, there's probably better options. If you wanted a dedicated additive synth, there's probably better options. If you want a versatile synthesizer that is top-notch at wavetables and can challenge a dedicated wavetable or a dedicated additive, dedicated modeling synth, etc., then this is your answer. I admit that I think the sample engine is probably the weakest, but it's still very powerful and super useful for the context in which you find it in. But it's not going to do like, you know, string libraries or replace your string library. Slowly expanded with the other engines over time. There's no guarantee that they will continue to expand. And they added that one too. But the most recent adds, the harmonic was added like 2 years ago, and modal was added a year ago or so. So it's potentially you'll get more stuff. Oh, and you know they added new effects. The last update added the modal engine, but also added like drive on the basic filter models. Tweaked the interface a little, did some other things, but and even if you never get another one, it's an incredible value. But there's always a chance that like a year from now, you're just going to be like, oh, now it also does fill in the blank, or it also now has 10 more effects or whatever, all free. So yeah, I cannot recommend this synth highly enough. I'm going to play maybe, we're 15 minutes from going 90 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and go to 90 minutes just playing some more of my presets. Thank you so much for joining. At the if you have questions, I would love to answer them. Yeah, it's a whole different room. So if it's you have to let me know if it's too loud, too quiet, whatever. In this room, I can definitely adjust it. That other room was much larger and much brighter, and this room is much more compact and not nearly as bright. So probably more reflections, closer reflections, but not as bright reflections. So let's see, how far did I get? I definitely got to the folded bass, gaze, get plucked. Oh yeah, I got to the folded bass, gaze, get plucked. Oh yeah. Okay, so I'll probably look at another synth, maybe the WaveStation plugin. I don't know. We'll talk about it online, okay? So I'll meet you online, and we'll talk about some synthesizers, and we'll go from there. Thanks for coming in. Enjoy the next few minutes of me playing some more weird presets, and hope you enjoyed this. Catch you next time. Right, I will see you next time. Thank you for hanging out. You made it almost to the very, very end. Blame me for not wanting to listen to me play all my presets. Yeah, I've definitely noticed that when I listen back, I can tell that it picks it up. I have not figured out a solution to that. I almost bought a wireless microphone the other day, it doesn't matter the reason I didn't. I probably should have. That would clip to my shirt and I could turn the gain down on it because it's right by my face. I think this is just basically a universal microphone, so forgive the percussiveness of all these patches. Maybe they're not all quite as percussive as you're hearing. I have in the past come up with some sequences to kind of show them off without me having to play them. I didn't do that this week for sure. But that is a good heads up. That is something I need to consider. I knew what's happening, but yeah, right. The wireless do have their own problems. What I'm using right now is just my mini recorder, and basically it's audio interface mode, just using the microphone on it. So it's just like a Zoom microphone, and it's like an Omni pattern, so it's picking everything up. And the keyboard's right behind it, so I'm sure there's a solution. I've not quite figured it out yet, but yeah, I'm just kind of running through these real quick. Some of these we already heard, obviously. That's a pretty good pad. Hey, look, Swarm, this is the one named after you. Yeah, that's true. I could probably... There are some options. I have another mic I can try, too. There's some different things I can try. Maybe I'll try and address it by next week here. Can we get through? I think we can just... It might have been tuned ambitiously low, overly ambitiously low. Yeah, there's... I have to admit, it's not intentional necessarily, but I think ELO frequently comes out in my pad sounds. I mean, that also kind of sounds like an LFO pad, does it not? All right, that's it. That's all of my sounds. We played them all except for a couple of ones I made for a teaching thing, which are not very interesting sounds, except as they're used as a teaching tool. All right, we went 90 minutes. That's 30 minutes longer than I intended. It's still all good. Thank you all for coming by. Swarm, I'm glad you made it for the end, so you could see that your sound get played. Yep, reach out to me on social media if you have additional questions that weren't answered, and I'll be happy to answer them there. Thank you to everyone that came by, whether it was for 5 minutes or for the entire 90 minutes. You are all greatly appreciated. Like and subscribe. I know I'm supposed to say that stuff, right? Like, subscribe if you haven't already.